Premier Mark Brantley believes the time has come for St. Kitts and Nevis to have significant discussions on Haiti in the context of the deteriorating circumstances there. Haiti is a CARICOM member country with 11.4 million people sharing the island of Hispaniola with the Dominican Republic. The fear is that the lack of political stability, economic uncertainty, increased crime and violence, and the breakdown of important services could force thousands of Haitians to flee their country. According to the Premier, an uncontrolled influx of Haitians into CARICOM member countries can become a major security risk, in addition to dealing with social, health, and education implications.
We have seen over the years, time and time again, what happens when there's instability. There is war, there's violence, people flee. That is why I'm saying the situation in Haiti poses a clear and present danger to us all in the region. If the United States makes it more difficult for them to get to the US, then they're likely to turn their attention southward to their CARICOM brothers and sisters. Can we handle it? That really is where the rubber meets the road. So putting aside the very powerful moral arguments that we ought to reach out and provide solace and comfort to our brothers and sisters in Haiti, the question is, can we handle it as a practical matter if we have large numbers of people coming in? And so the point you make about security is really, that's where the rubber meets the road. Because if people are coming in large enough numbers, it must lead to insecurity. It must lead to instability. We can be overwhelmed.
And with such large numbers that are likely to be involved, there is also the criminal element that must be considered as a dangerous security risk.
We don't even know who the people are that are coming. Suppose among them you have criminals, people who have committed terrible crimes. That is always the danger. Truth is that when you have these refugee situations, I'm trying not to use that word, but when you have situations where people are fleeing, you don't know who you're going to get. You don't know. And that really is a danger. So I believe that you've put it on the footing of security. I think it can potentially cause grave instability in these islands. And that's why, again, I reiterate the call that we need an urgent national and regional discussion on this matter.
Haitian gangs have taken control of areas all across the country. The activities of armed individuals have forced the closure of several hospitals and clinics, along with the significant collapse of the transportation system. Glenn Bard reporting for SK Newsline.
It is the hope that after the national consultation on the invasive green monkey, that some deliberate solutions will be actualized, notes Permanent Secretary in the Nevis Ministry of Agriculture, Hughie Sargent. The consultation, which took place on Tuesday, saw stakeholders in agriculture, the environment, and other sectors meet to discuss how to deal with the monkey issue, which has been a decades-old problem affecting especially farmers in St. Kitts and Nevis.
If I am to be guided by history, nothing will be done. If I am to be guided by the persons in the room, we've heard the minister commit, both ministers actually from the Department of the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Joel Clark and Honorable Samuel Duggins. There is that commitment to addressing this problem. So we shall also wait and see. I understand that being Permanent Secretary on the island of Nevis, I'm also in the decision-making chair. So there is definitely that commitment to ensuring that we have food security and nutrition security from local production here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Mr. Sargent told SK Newsline on the sidelines of the meeting that the consultation was quite informative and showed the gravity of the monkey problem.
We are suffering significantly because of the impact of the green monkeys. Not only the green monkeys, but we have other invasive species such as pigs and so on that affect our farmers. We have to be serious about addressing the problem, and there are a number of suggestions. As one person in the audience would have said, we've been having these conferences over a number of years. It is now time for action. And I think with the differing views that are coming from the audience and from the panel, there is that commitment to do something. I can tell you on the island of Nevis, last year the government would have allocated some $1.2 million in terms of seeking to address the monkey problem on the island. And that equates to more than 20,000 animals. And there is still a problem here on the island of Nevis. And we really need more support.
The Ministry of Environment, Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment spearheaded a national consultation on the management of invasive green monkey on Tuesday at the St. Kitts Marett Resort. The consultation provided a forum to discuss the results of pilot research conducted under the project titled Preventing the Cost of Invasive Alien Species, IAS, in Barbados and the OACS. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
Hi, Tashawn Wilkin, the first assistant director here at MSR Media and a proud native of St. Kitts and Nevis. MSR Media established itself in the Federation 2 years ago, and in that time, we have produced 9 films in our beautiful nation with international movie stars such as Elizabeth Hurley, Kelsey Grammer, Malin Ackerman, Connie Nielsen, and country music superstar Billy Ray Cyrus, seen by millions of people and promoting our island all over the world. MSR has recently purchased the OTI Hotel, now called the MSR Hotel, which will be our new headquarters and creative hub in the Federation. We are now expanding, and there's a job for you. So, if you want to work behind the scenes on a film set, send an email to jobs@msrmediaskn.com. We have 200 jobs for the 6 movies we are producing this year. Now, if you're interested in the world of visual effects, we are creating a VFX company. Because in the world of making movies, computer-generated images are crucial. So if you have computer skills and if you want a job in the high-tech business, please contact us as we are looking to hire 50 people with the computer skills for our new VFX division. There are lots of opportunities at MSR Media with 200 jobs to fill. So email your resume to jobs@msrmediaskn.com and join the MSR family today.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean classics, and Jive music show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
A meeting with a delegation from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and land allocation matters were the key areas of discussion of the Cabinet this week, according to Cabinet Secretary Dr. Marcus Natter. In the most recent post-Cabinet report, the Cabinet Secretary outlined the key interest areas.
The Cabinet welcomed a delegation from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, as part of the bank's country outreach for 2023. Led by Mr. Timothy Antoine, Governor of the ECCB, the presentation focused on the theme, Building Resilience and Propelling Transformation. The ECCB team shared that global growth is expected to slow in 2023 due to high inflation, tightening of monetary policy, and the continued fallout from the war in Ukraine and related sanctions. Notwithstanding these shocks, St. Kitts and Nevis's economy is projected to continue its recovery over the medium term, fueled by a rebound in tourism services, greater agricultural production, digitalization, and increased investment in public infrastructure, noted Governor Antoine. The Cabinet received an exit report from the Honorable Minister of Sustainable Development, Dr. Joel Clark, on the recently held Land Allocation, Normalization, and Distribution Fair. The Land Fair, a first of its kind, sought to address the needs and concerns of the general public and also gather data that will help in the reformed land allocation, distribution, and management processes. Among the major concerns that emerged were the duplication and triplication of land lot assignments and haphazard approach to the issuance of lands under the previous administration. Dr. Clark informed that the ministry will continue to conduct a series of communication and public engagement sessions to sensitize the public about their plans for addressing major land allocation challenges.
The matter of land allocation has been a major point of discontent among persons who have applied but are not making headway in the processes. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Concerned Citizens Movement elected representative for Nevis 1, Spencer Brand, said the elections petitions filed by the Nevis Reformation Party were unsubstantiated and should not have been brought before the court. The election petitions brought against the elected representatives in the Nevis Island Assembly and sitting ministers in the Nevis Island Administration, Premier Mark Brantley and Mr. Brand, were on Monday, February 27th, struck out and dismissed by the court.
Today I am indeed filled with mixed emotions, really, because from the outset I felt that these petitions needed not to find themselves in the halls of the court, because from reading them from the beginning, we knew that they were just unsubstantiated. Today I want to take this opportunity to thank the capable and competent legal team at Daniel Brantley and Associates for ensuring that today we receive the outcome that we had hoped for, and that is to have both petitions struck out, the one for Premier Brantley and the one for myself. I want to thank them for their hard work and their commitment. And as Mr. Barnes would have indicated, we continue working for and on behalf of the people of Nevis.
Meanwhile, lead counsel on the CCM's legal team from Daniel Brantley Attorneys at Law, Mr. Brian Barnes, spoke to matters of cost awarded to the respondents as part of the judge's ruling.
Having reviewed the petition, we came to the conclusion that these petitions, the one against Spencer Brand brought by Ms. Keynes and the one against Mark Brantley brought by Ms. Bartlett, were nullities. We brought that to their attention by way of applications, and they persisted. The court gave its decision today, striking out both petitions and ordering costs against both petitioners, with costs to be agreed, if not taxed. We have already canvassed before the court that in a previous election case before Justice Williams, as she then was, cost was established and a basis was established. However, on this order, we will be pursuing an assessment of our costs if not agreed. So effectively, Minister Brantley, Minister Brand will effectively be able to go back to their respective jobs and to do the business of the country, the petitions having been struck out as a nullity.
On Monday, Justice Thompson Jr. ruled that the case submission of NRP's Ms. G.D. Kane's election petition was filed outside the 21-day period provided for by Section 98 of the National Assembly Elections Act and was therefore a nullity and is struck out and dismissed. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center in Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guesthouse Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guesthouse and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable.
Because they seem intent to make this decision by themselves. I don't understand. If you think your argument is so great, and this is such a great thing for the people of St. Lucia, allow the people of St. Lucia, give them the choice.
No referendum, no CCJ. This was the refrain echoed by the opposition United Workers' Party supporters as they marched through the streets of Choiseul over the weekend. the opposition and its surrogates continue to be infuriated over St. Lucia's planned move to make the Caribbean Court of Justice its final court of appeal. On Monday, a leader of the opposition, Alan Chasney, held a press conference to discuss, amongst other matters, what he has labeled the undemocratic transition to the CCJ. Chasney has taken issue with the appointment of Attorney-at-Law Thaddeus Antoine to a select committee. The Legal Eagle was nominated by the Regional Law Fraternity, but Chasney is not happy.
How did Thaddeus Antoine just become appointed to a committee that selects the judges for the CCJ? How? And these are questions that have to be answered.
The rule of law, according to Chasney, is the most crucial factor, dismissing the notion of cultural sensitivity in what he believes is the quest for a system of blind justice. He challenges a man considered a foremost legal mind and luminary around the world, former Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Sir Dennis Byron, that the CCJ decision can be undone.
Say Lucia decides to go back to the Privy Council, that can happen. He explained the process.
Say Lucia, that's not true. I would challenge him on that. Privy Council has made it very clear. Once you go, you're gone. There's no coming back.
Opponents of the indirect vote on the CCJ point to the perceived poor condition of the lower courts, torpid criminal justice system, and an overcrowded prison at Bodily Correctional Facility in their vehement aversion to accession. The naysayers say the lower courts must first be reformed before replacing the Privy Council with the CCJ. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
For the very first time, we are hearing from the Cuban pilot who courageously stole a Soviet-era plane from the communist island and flew it all the way to South Florida. He was granted asylum today after being held by immigration for months. Local 10's Hatzel Vela spoke with him about his daring escape. Hatzel.
Nicole, 29 years old, he was released from federal custody this morning, came straight here to Coral Gables to his attorney's office because he wanted to tell the world his story.
I feel good.
Feels good to be free. For the first time, we hear from Rubén Martínez Machado.
Fueron 3 horas aproximadamente.
Today, the Cuban pilot describes the 3-hour flight he says was filled with fear.
Bueno, la noche anterior a eso no dormí.
Couldn't sleep the previous night, but on October 21st last year, he took an old Soviet plane flying low the whole time so he wouldn't be detected. Salt water in his eyes, on the windshield, scared, he says, the engine would fail.
The taking of the plane was a clear and public manifestation of his fear of continuing to live in Cuba.
Martínez Machado could no longer live in Cuba, especially after the oppression he saw following the historic island-wide protest.
En Cuba vivir es cruel.
To live in Cuba is cruel, he says, not to mention the 2 incidents with the government, one where he was arrested and detained, he says, falsely accused of stealing gasoline.
His life was in danger before he left Cuba.
But after that incredible journey, now he's here with hopes of starting a new life.
Now he is a very, very high-level pilot, and we are sure, and I am confident, he will be able to, at one point, fly within the United States and elsewhere.
In the short term, a job would be great.
Ahora, tomarme una cerveza.
But first, a nice cold beer after leaving federal detention today.
And so now he's off to Houston, Texas. That's where he'll be living with some relatives, but does not forget the relatives he leaves behind in Cuba. His mother, his sister, his grandmother, certainly concerned over their safety, like many here in South Florida are about the relatives back on the island. For now, reporting live in Coral Gables, I'm Hatzel Vela, Local 10 News.
Now, Russian media is reporting that an unmanned drone has crashed in the Moscow region. The governor says the drone was targeting a facility used by civilians. There have been no casualties or property damage, but the incident is being investigated by local authorities. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has told his security service to step up its activity to counter what he called growing espionage operations against Russia.
We must strengthen our counterintelligence, as Western special services have always traditionally worked against Russia in an active way. They have now thrown additional personnel, technical, and other resources against us. We must respond to it accordingly.
And the Russian Defense Ministry has accused the U.S. of planning a so-called provocation in Ukraine using toxic chemicals. Osama bin Javid has more from Moscow.
The Ministry of Defense, for the first time, has actually detailed a plan of how allegedly chemical weapons have been brought into Ukraine near the Donetsk region. This is where intense fighting has been taking place for the last few months. The Ministry of Defense has actually identified the number of bogies, the type of chemicals it says could be used, and which will be a violation of the Organization of the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons treaties. So it is all happening this morning in Russia. There seems to be more alarm bells ringing than actual fighting.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is warning that the situation in the eastern frontline city of Bakhmut is getting worse. Regional separatist leaders say nearly all the roads into the city are now under Russian control. The area has been the site of a bitter, deadly battle for more than 6 months.
In Bakhmut, the situation is constantly becoming more difficult. The enemy is constantly destroying everything that can be used to protect our positions for fortification and defense. Our soldiers defending in the Bakhmut region are real heroes.
This is a familiar sight in North Kivu. People in Sake, west of Goma, are fleeing again from their homes. They carry what they can. They say M23 rebels are getting closer to the town. They've already taken several village centers and important towns that are rich in minerals. Janine Kiguma and her family have left their home on the outskirts of Sake. They say they are heading to a camp for displaced people.
We came to Sake from my village to see if Sake was safe, but all I could hear were gunshots. Now I'm heading to Goma. We're tired of running.
Congolese soldiers are doing what they can to protect the areas, but they have often been forced to retreat as the rebels advance.
Goma, which is the provincial capital, the largest city in the area, is now pretty much surrounded by the M23 insurgent group. Goma has Rwanda to one side, Lake Kivu to the other, and now the north and the west and the roads that supply Goma with food and other goods, which are principally from the north of the province, they're now effectively controlled or at least strongly contested by the M23.
Regional leaders from the East African community have been trying to mediate a peace deal, but it's proving increasingly difficult. Rwanda and the DRC have accused each other of using armed groups in the conflict. Both sides deny the allegations. During the recent African Union summit, East Africa's regional body IGAD gave M23 a month to withdraw from positions they're holding. It has been hard for the leaders to enforce a ceasefire.
There is at the moment, I think, little desire to sanction the heads of the groups and in particular the M23, because the intention is ultimately to bring them to the negotiating table. I think a regional sanctioning of armed groups may have some impact in sending signals, but it could only work if it was part of continued diplomatic effort.
After years of painful conflict, few Congolese are likely to be holding their breath. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera.
The SKNFA Premier League rescheduled match between Flo Foji Rockets and Honda Newtown United played on Monday at the Newtown Sporting Complex, with Keon defeating the home side 2-0. That result shot Keon back up to the top of the table with 9 points. Scoring for Keon, Carlos Bertie in the 22nd minute and Malik Hendrickson in the 39th minute. After the match, coach of Keon, Al Edwards, said his team stuck to the game plan for most of the match.
We got the early chances, probably scored maybe just 2 out of 3 or 4. At halftime, just wanted to be cautious, not too overly aggressive, and be careful to take what you got. We expected them to come to look for equalizer, look for the first goal, and so we just went into a low block more or less and held out. Sometimes it's got to be ugly, but we need the points.
Was your strategy in the second half to absorb the pressure, or were you still hoping to get another goal or 2?
Absorb the pressure and both, and get another goal or 2. But in terms of the release, the main release person got injured, which is Bertie. And it kind of went away from the game plan in terms of getting the ball to the key man, creating it, and then we will fill. But that didn't happen. But nonetheless, it was overall a good fight. Something got to be ugly. Something just can't go all your way. But you got 2 goals already, and that's what really matters.
Newtown's coach Anthony Nets Isaac said the team defended poorly in the first half, though they responded well in the second half.
I think in the first half we let the game get away from us in terms of poor marking in the defensive area. But as you say, we came back, we went in and we discussed it, and came back in the second half. And I mean, we made a good showing in the second half because we dominated the second half of the game, totally dominated the second half of the game. Just that you didn't get the score down the goal that you wanted.
Now, how do you prevent this from starting a snowball effect? Because you started off the season well, you don't want a loss now to come and derail your progress.
Well, again, as I said from the start, it's about the fellas them got to be motivating themselves from game to game. As I tell you, in the second half, we dominated Keon in the second half, so we have to take that and carry it into the next game, and hoping that we don't lose the next game, so we can go forward and with the next win.
The SKNFA Premier League continues this weekend with matches at the St Mary's Park in Keon and the Warner Park.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.